So, let's speak about security of mobile applications and
Что такого небезопасного может быть в
about
мобилках?
what could be so unsecure in mobile applications when they are interface for IoT or car systems.
Три
And in our studio, we have three cool mobile hackers, Artyom Kulakov. Many people can know it through Droigar's channel. I'm reading his channel all the time.
Вот.
Yura Forbalin.
Классную штуку с Stingray, как-то устроил мне закрытый показ. Я вообще
He has given me a closed
за мобильных приложений эту штуку.
show off for mobile applications.
Вот.
Yuri, well, I met you for the first time.
Исследование мобильных приложений еще и
In
преподаю.
addition to research, you also are teaching, as I understand, how to search vulnerabilities in mobile applications, right?
В общем, у нас три классных
So
эксперта.
we have three cool mobile experts here. Let's try to learn from them what can be so dangerous, and maybe everything is okay about mobile applications for IoT and car systems. This is the first question. Have you seen in your work such systems? During the research of the applications, did you see applications which are the interface or the means of management of the IoT or the cars? So have you been breaking cars? Cars? Well, I didn't break cars through mobile application, but I do have a cooperation through COM bus. I did have experience, but I didn't have the real one. And in a couple of words, if you can tell me, well, I understand you cannot speak about everything.
Вот, можешь в двух словах буквально, да, рассказать, что это за опыт?
Can you tell me in a couple of words what kind of experience is this? You're speaking about COM bus. Yeah, speaking about cars. Well, as for the cars, I don't have a lot of experience in this area, but the experience I did have, it's worked through the existing utilities and usage of not even vulnerabilities as such, but deficiencies in design, more likely. Because the car, at that moment of time, well, was really trusting to everything that was coming through the COM bus, and manufacturers are trying to make it more and more tough. But classical replay attacks could be done very good.
В отношении машин.
Well, the story about the bolts, yeah, tightening the bolts. Yuri, what about yourself? Maybe you've been looking at somebody else's cameras. Cameras? Yes.
Самого система умного дома стоит
I have this system at home.
Home Assistant. Вот.
It's the very popular Home Assistant, and it was interesting how it is built.
Так как куча
And
производителей
in general, there's a lot of manufacturers.
дешевых и
There's a lot of cheap and not very cheap devices of the smart house and cameras as well.
и эти
And
как бы без
I
трусов
can tell you, I'm not walking my house naked.
если взять там
Because honestly,
популярные
if you take the most popular cameras and their applications,
что и как они
and
отправляют,
if you will see how they send their information, about 60% of cases, not many of them are thinking about security,
прошивки мы
not even on level of the hardware and remote access to the flow and how you can get access to this broadcasting.
менее популярного ноунейма
More or less popular no-name and basically using
авторизации
vulnerabilities with lack of authorization or regular backdoor just to check identifiers in a flow, and you can look into some camera. So those of you who have those cameras at home, I don't recommend to walk naked at home or do some improper actions. Well, you have said it properly about identifier brute forcing. In my experience, there was a case. Identifiers were resilient, but they've been leaking in one place, and you can look at the listing of the cameras and then post it. It's not a unique case. Yura, what about your experience? Maybe you've been breaking some smart vacuum cleaner.
Был опыт, я ломал
I did have an experience. I've been breaking my own smart vacuum cleaner.
достаточно известный.
Can't say the name of the company. It's a well-known company.
Хотел
It's not like I wanted to break it. I'd just been doing the research. It was my hobby. However, in mobile application, they have a wide spectrum of standard vulnerabilities or mismatches, if you look at it. And
ресерчил,
generally speaking, I've been researching this topic for a while.
большая проблема с тем, что
There's a big problem that these devices, by default, they trust everyone, or they have inbuilt by default pin codes that you can find in the internet. And when this system is being developed, especially mobile application without web,
Bluetooth устройства,
and some Bluetooth devices, Wi-Fi devices,
там о безопасности
point to point, then they don't think about security. They just try to make it work. That's it.
Да, я
Well, right now, I've heard one thing from you and from Artyom that in these devices, they don't think about security.
мобильное приложение,
And if mobile application is taken as the entry point, it's enough
может, есть
to think that
что отличает, ну, мы говорим
dig deeper to these systems. First of all, we speak about mobile applications of managing such systems from messengers, banks, and
игр мобильных.
ко мне
mobile games. Is it a question to me? Yeah.
обычно, когда
Okay, let's see. Usually, when bank applications are being developed or messengers or something else,
некоторая защита,
we mean some level of protection because business in this segment have already understood that you need to develop through security, but these practices in IoT devices are not available.
история
Even in cars, a well-known story in the year 2015 when Jeep was broken and it was remotely controlled and it went into a ditch. When the Tesla was broken, only then car manufacturers started thinking that security has to be introduced into the architecture and don't just patch it.
что безопасность
Because we know all this phrase that system security is the weakest point.
сейчас
And the car as a gadget,
Bluetooth,
well, there's a lot of interfaces, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi,
Android чаще
these Android had, whatever, all these entrance points
и
which can be broken separately and through the same CAN bus, you can manage the engine or other critical devices. Well, this is a cool idea. And there's another cool one.
Поговорили, вот.
That's good that we've been speaking about it. I'll remember. You said that you were afraid to walk naked in the house in underwear, without underwear.
В самолетах, да, вот там
What about flying in the airplanes? Because
знакомый, который
I have a friend
во время полета,
who've been entertaining himself during the flight and he was receiving certain access. And I've been reading articles that some guys can get access to airplane management through the entertainment system.
сделать с помощью мобильного приложения, если
The same thing can be done with the mobile application if it is assumed that the airplane system or entertainment system can be managed by the mobile phone. Maybe you can speak about some peculiarities.
Все, мне кажется, сводится к тому, что
Everything is brought to the fact that
к поверхности атаки на самом деле, да, то есть
the surface of the attack
очень
is very important. It would be very strange.
которая, служит для развлечения
There's only system that entertains guests and airplanes like video films, music, etc. If it would be connected in some way with airplane control system.
история про
We all remember stories
поезда.
from speed trains.
Раз такая ошибка была. Да, это
There
опять
was an error like that. So once again,
с
it was a problem related with the architecture and security. Not many of them, unfortunately, especially in the spheres
исследований.
which have not been covered by this level of research and which have not been covered by this big overflow of researchers. So they have not been thinking about security that much, about vulnerabilities which can be in those systems and what can be done through these vulnerabilities.
Основной затык, да, то, что
So this is the main problem.
Игорь говорил про
Like Igor said about financial companies and in financial applications,
требования, потом
first of all, they have the necessary requirement, 2 pen tests per year,
всякие
and
законы их давят. Да.
different laws are pressing on them
В IoT, в
in IoT, in transportation companies, in other services. We can call them generally IoT, Internet of Things.
да, к ним подступались,
Yes, they've been approached.
что-то рассказывали.
They've done some researches,
Вендора еще
but vendors,
доросли до того уровня, когда
they didn't get to the level when they definitely have to think about security. And it's the same thing as with Android.
огромная фрагментация
There's a big fragmentation of devices, big fragmentation of vendors. if
ту же самую камеру, да,
you will look at the same camera. For example, I want to buy, and you will see the list of tens of thousands of models. Each vendor tries to do something of their own application, their own ecosystem will be built around it.
гиганты
Even our giants, domestic giants, are building their own system, smart house systems.
две, да, их уже сильно
Not one, not two, but much more.
устройства,
And their devices
перепрошитые,
are
не перепрошитые, просто переклеенный шильдик с другого устройства.
they're putting, the name from another device, and their fragmentation of these devices is very big.
За всеми
To watch each one of them, it's very, very difficult.
это все ведет к тому, что уязвимость
And it leads to the fact that vulnerability found in one system,
найти
after changing a little bit, you can find in most of other vendors because of the similar firmware. Well, it's very nice. If starting researchers are watching us, mobile and IoT is a notion of simple bugs. Learn, reproduce, and in 5 years, maybe you will become experts that will be sitting here, maybe even in front of me. Okay, Artyom, you've been saying that right now, in machines, they are tightening the bolts. Like previously, the situation was much worse. Can you tell me, plus minus, from what these systems have started and what do we have right now? Maybe there's a trend that in the nearest future we will see from the point of view of different functional sets. Let's see. What can I tell you about trends? We have started from the fact that it should work somehow. Nobody even thought about it. All the systems, not only automotive systems, started from this, but it just has to work. And what type of security is there? It's very expensive, not understandable. There wasn't any research out there, but there were some people found there, people who've been asking the model from the model, and there were people here who started searching for some possibilities, some out of pure interest, some out of making simple money, and they started finding ways around it. And of course, IoT producers, manufacturers, according to my modest opinion, they're a little bit more flexible than software manufacturers because hardware, software, you can say that maybe that's why. So they're less flexible. It's much more difficult for them to implement new features because many things are connected to crystals, to chips, etc. And that's why the bug that was discovered by a researcher, you may not be able to fix it like that. You may only call back device, call back a car. But what does it mean, call back a car? It's not like you get a call and say, we are calling back your car. No. You come to the technical maintenance and they say, well, you have this problem. And the fact that it's related to some IoT devices, cameras, nobody will ever tell you that there's a vulnerability, especially if the camera is not updated. Well, if it's not updated, it's not updated. And this is a problem. Who is interested in security? If it's the end user, then it's not going to influence the company. If it does have some vulnerability, maybe they will manufacture a new model. The old one has no more support, and user fool himself. So maybe it's a gradual process that they will form a demand for safe devices that will allow them to show competitive advantages for manufacturers because many of them have bug bounty programs. And if they would speak louder about it amongst hackers and among regular users, maybe some of them would trust them even more. But let's see. Many people have told us about the attack surface, that we have applications and devices, but they can do it through the internet, through the Bluetooth, and many other devices in a living house. And generally speaking, the trend of the ecosystem that we've been speaking about a couple of years ago, and we were able to even forecast some things, that IoT is entered by big players like Google with its Android for cars, etc. Apple has its own smart house, and there's a lot of third-party developers. So can you tell us, please, what is the danger of such a big attack surface? Well, it's going to be a simple reply. Big attack surface is dangerous that it's big. According to the theory of probabilities, you have more possibilities to get through somewhere. But also, there is a less obvious thing that big attack surface and all this beauty of availability of Bluetooth, non-Bluetooth, and other technologies, this big number of technologies, but technologies are very complicated each by each. So all the developers which are involved in these technologies, not even them have the understanding of how it works. It sounds strange for the person who is not deep into it, but for those who understands the development, they perfectly know that you can't always get down to these thresholds. You have implemented the Bluetooth, okay, packages are flying, it works, but what kind of default encoding you have used, is it vulnerable or not vulnerable protocol version? There could be peculiarities like that. And researchers, they will look at what is the protocol version. This one, okay, here's the vulnerability. Here it is.
Да, действительно так.
Well, honestly, it's like that because during the development, for example, you make a camera for the smart house system and you don't even know that another team on GitHub is involved in developing this
в этом смысле, ну,
camera. So, big surface of attack from this point of view. The fact is that nobody knows how big it is. People perceive that it does have a lot of things inside of it, but
на себя представляет, сложно сказать. Вот
what it looks like, it's hard to say. So,
знаем о 20%.
closing 20% of vulnerabilities and knowing about 20% of vulnerabilities. But Yura, what can you say about that?
Сказать,
Such a complicated system.
со стороны мобильных приложений, да,
And from the side of the mobile applications, let's think, having the entry point and picture as a mobile application. Well, what these cameras have to do it because they are not connected directly to the internet, but mobile application in this sense
уязвимо.
is more vulnerable.
Возвращаясь
Well, yes. Coming back to the previous question, the surface of attack
да, то есть раньше, как Артем говорил,
and the entry threshold. Artyom was speaking about the COM bus. You needed special software. You had to read the documents. You should know the commands, protocols. How does it work, etc. So you had to at least understand what will you do, and you had to understand which device you will do it. You will have to connect it to the machine, send some commands. It's difficult.
как только ты подключаешь к этой
But as soon as you connect mobile application to this system where you press the button
системе, нажал на
and the machine starts, you press the button and the alarm is on. You press another button and the trunk is open. The automotive analysis entry point is lowering down to, I've downloaded JARX, decompiled it, and I received the access to this COM bus. All the standard vulnerabilities to mobile applications which can be
они
found in mobile applications, like 80% of them will definitely be in the first versions of these mobile applications. Because the first version, it works, don't touch it, praise God.
знаем временное решение.
And as we know, temporary solution, there's nothing more temporary, nothing more continuous than temporary. So these solutions stay with them for quite a while. And because
Не автомобильной промышленности, а
let's not speak about automotive industry, but let's go back to the smart house.
к своему
For example, you can go to your provider, you can buy a smart house system,
ни регуляторок,
but there's no regulation. There are no requirements
безопасных,
to how secure should it be, which protocol should be utilized by them.
с карточными сервисами там.
And if we'll compare it to the card services, they have CBSS, through which it's wild
Повежливый
to
проверяют. Вот.
check everybody through it. In IoT, you have nothing. You can do whatever you want. HTTP, easy.
Протокол там,
Your own protocol,
не знаю, камера.
you send one and the camera is exploding. Easy. Nobody regulates you and you can do whatever you want.
Ну, в этом проблема, да.
And in this sense, there's a problem. The less you will spend for development, the more you will develop. And until you don't have these
Хотя бы к этим
minimal requirements in a system of smart house, which is being sold like every step,
и мобильные приложения в этом плане
and mobile applications from this point of view,
понижают точку входа в поверхность.
they reduce the entry point to the surface of attack. It's easy to check the application, how it will start, what will start, how they cooperate, and then try to repeat it trace it, check it, and whatever.
Большинство из вас, наверное,
Well,
испугалось.
most of you,
Призму исследователя это все пропускаю, и мне кажется,
I'm putting it through my mind.
управляющий для
And I think, this is very inspiring for starting bug hunters. If you want to go back to 2050 and become second buggy pro
денег на бакбаунти,
to earn a lot of millions of dollars for bug bounty, it's your choice today. So I would like to propose us and to fantasize in the remaining 3 minutes
по поводу
quickly
давай, Игорь, придумай,
about scenarios. Igor, can you invent for me and for our viewers a
допустим,
attack scenario?
взял телефон,
For example, I've lost my phone,
его украли, может, даже не
or it was stolen, and it's not blocked, as many people have it,
мне это грозит.
and there's a smart house application. What's going to be my problem?
Или грозит
Well,
всем,
let's see. The problem is that everything depends on the application and the level of attack. But let's imagine that I've researched it.
эксплуатировать твою
I found how I can exploit your smart house.
пропатченную
I've done the same patched version with vulnerabilities or opened some other possibilities in the application, reassembled it to get access to some private functions, etc.
ты будешь
And then
какие-то кнопочки,
when you will press some buttons, for example, it's going to be sent to my server,
твои действия,
and I will be able to
без тебя
catch your activities, and without you, without your interference, I will be able to control your home. Well, it's understandable. Not everybody lose unblocked home, so you need to research specific technology. Right now, all this sphere is protected by the fact that there is a big fragmentation. In order to attack you personally, they need to study what have you installed. But if you are an interesting person, if you're a well-known person, sometimes it makes sense.
Кстати, вот для тех, кто
And what would you say about,
от того, что ты потерял, даже не
well, because you have lost a non-blocked phone, well, you can protect yourself. OS provides you the possibility that it would be very difficult to get connection to your data.
запомним. И разработчикам, чтобы повысить защищенность,
Developers, what they do to increase the security of the application in case when you have lost your mobile phone or when it was stolen. Well, there is a service of remote blockage. Well, that's understandable. It's a very obvious thing.
не храните банковские приложения.
Don't store banking applications and same to where you receive the bank applications on one phone. That's the first recommendation. Then all applications which allow you to do that, they should be passworded and pin coded, different pin code than the system. And if application does not allow you
Прямого доступа
to give you protection from direct access, don't use them or ask a manufacturer why it's like that. These are basic things, and of course, complicated passwords, protecting other things, obvious things.
вещи, они работают везде довольно успешно. Очень
Basic things work very successfully everywhere.
справиться, есть шанс.
Because, some people who don't work with them, well, they will help us in the future as well. And now your scenario
Расскажи нам,
in 1 minute. Can you tell us, please, how the criminal can break smart house or a car,
какое мобильное приложение со стороны клиента. Ну,
attacking mobile application from the side of the client. For example, you have downloaded a Trojan, which receives some root rights or whatever. What can be done? Okay, what can I say here?
Пробую за минуту, но может чуть-чуть.
I will try in the course of 1 minute. Maybe it will take a little bit longer. What is the problem about mobile applications for different IoT devices and cars specifically?
Они, как правило,
Because they,
основную деятельность
as a rule, this is not the main way path of activity of this company. So the quality of development of this software,
сервис,
it's very low.
куда фото
Like banking applications, photo services,
вперед динамично развивается, там уже многие, как бы ошибки.
they develop dynamically. Many errors have already been fixed. They are not available there.
Команда разработки лучше
And their development team understands better how to build architecture, etc. But in automotive, in IoT, it looks like we need a mobile application. Okay, let's open documentation and write mobile application. And that's where these problems are coming from. That's why mobile application can have those client bugs which you will never see in other modern applications,
открыть
like
там главный
open
обход пин
main screen around pin code. It's impossible anywhere. But in application like that for IoT devices,
вполне себе.
if it's from no-name company, it is possible because people have created it, manually. Oh, it works wonderful, good. And completing my sentence, malicious application on a user device, which has been delivered to him from wherever else, it can exploit these client vulnerabilities and get to the functionality of the smart house to this vulnerable application. So that can be the chain.
по
I really like your idea about opening documentation and writing without specific background. I've been finding Stack Overflow, but right now ChatGPT
Топовые баги.
Да, будет
will give you all the top bugs, and it's going to be much worse, definitely.
Юра, твои 48 секунд.
Yura, your 48 seconds. Can you tell us, please, as a hacker, after learning mobile application traffic, maybe some tokens, source codes, hidden API methods, and will they break automotive system or the smart house?
Самый классический
Well,
пример
the most classical example, man in the middle,
отсутствие защиты сетевого
the
трафика
absence of traffic protection.
с сервером, как правило,
So the application is communicating with sector.
получается
If it's a mobile application, it doesn't
напрямую
communicate with some direct server, but it does communicate directly with your
да, с
computer that you have at home,
система,
where you have smart house system,
конечно.
especially if it's not in the cloud yet. So by
Все в открытом виде,
tracing traffic, you see everything opened, logins, passwords. Well, you have to approach it wisely, but let's assume that we've had a situation that you were able
как бы, если вы нас смотрите, не делайте так, пожалуйста.
that you were able to intercept the traffic, because many of manufacturers, they communicate through the HTTP, and intercepting the traffic, full control over the account, login and password are transferred in open way by factorial identification. Not many people have it. Two-factor authentication. This is another advice to Igor. Everywhere install two-factor authentication immediately. Definitely.
Must have вообще.
This is a must-have.
По факту, если ты видишь
So basically, if you see traffic in real time, you can change it, you can repeat it, you can record it.
ты получаешь полный
So
контроль.
basically, you receive the full control.
Следуя
That's why, by researching
да,
the commonly accepted practices,
а вас
all the standards,
уже 5 лет, ну вот, до
which have not been updated 5 years since 2016, 2017,
сих пор актуальны все
and
там
even until now,
авторские баги, да, и
Avast bugs
Артем,
still well known to many people. Artyom has properly, this application is developed without
как на нем
understanding of how the criminal is going to look at it. They all are present, and the recommendation to those who write those applications, please look at it not only from the functionality point of view and to make it work, look at it from the point of view of what benefit criminal can get out of it.
Да, я вообще, блин, и с тобой согласен, и со всеми вами.
I agree with you and with all the rest of you guys. Thank you for joining us and sharing with us.
В Телеграме, да.
Some of our broadcasts you can see on our webcast.
А Игорь там
Сайт.
в этих чатах, поэтому, если вам интересно, подписывайтесь.
So if it's interesting, subscribe, watch us, listen to us. Thanks for being with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.